he was definitely getting nervous as I was walking up there. Okay, what is she going to let out of the bag? So, before I even start with this, I have to say, from looking at the video, his room as a child, that office doesn't even come close. And one day, my dad, I remember, went in and he tried to organize and my Tom said, "What are you doing? I know exactly where it is when it's a mess. Now I am clueless." So, congrats. Words cannot truly express how happy and proud I am for you and all you have accomplished. It is a beautiful legacy as I look back as your little sister to recall the amazing journey and hard work that has gotten you to such accolades, not only from your colleagues, but from those you represented. It should have been obvious in your defiant youth that your path was already in the making. I remember you bringing a loaf of bread into the house during Passover. And I so remember Dad's fear that they would not let him on the plane to Israel after your vocal displeasure at them searching his bags. Glad you chose the good side of defiance. Of course, it makes me sad that Mom and Dad are not physically here to bask in your shining moments, especially since you truly embody the best of both of them. But I do know that they are quelling in spirit. Dad was truly a gentle man, loved by all his friends, people who worked with him, and his customers. It was difficult for him to get out of any of his customers' home without sitting for some coffee. They so enjoyed his company. He was always honest, humble, totally a class act. You so personify him and then some, clearly by the high regard for you from your associates and friends throughout the years. Although Mom died when we were both so young, I do remember her strength and conviction. When you and I had chickenpox, the doctor advised Mom to leave, since she had never had them. But there was no way she would budge. She was the impetus for us to move to Forest Hills, send us to camp, and take piano and dance lessons. Despite your struggles, Mom always believed in setting that vision and making it happen. From your decision to become a lawyer, commuting to John Jay from Connecticut, doing investigative work for Kunstler, you made your goals a brilliant reality. As parents together, I know you have comments on this as well. They planted seeds only of respect and integrity in both work with family and friends as a way of life. They did not have an easy youthful life, but never instilled any of that on us. No anger, no hate. They chose the high road, a philosophy of striving for excellence and always caring for others. You have fulfilled a lifetime of succeeding and surpassing their nurturing dreams. Couldn't be more proud. Love you much.
In the Division of Public Defender Services after an outstanding 37-year tenure as a dedicated fighter for indigent defendants. And whereas Tom is a member of the Connecticut Sentencing Commission, a member of the Advisory Board of the Connecticut Law Tribune, and past president of the Connecticut Criminal Defense Lawyers Association. And whereas Tom has shared his legal expertise as a lecturer at the Yale Law School and as an adjunct professor for the past 15 years at Quinnipiac University School of Law. And whereas Tom has stood at the forefront of the movement to abolish the death penalty in Connecticut, representing and fighting for the lives of high-profile defendants, and whereas Tom's voice of compassion, intelligence, sound judgment, and ethical standards has established him as a strong leader and role model for all in the criminal justice system, and whereas the state of Connecticut commends Thomas Ullmann on his outstanding tenure and joins his friends, family, and colleagues in extending sincere appreciation for his years of service, with best wishes for a healthy, happy, and fulfilling retirement. Now, therefore, I, Daniel P. Malloy, Governor of the state of Connecticut, surprise, do hereby honor and recognize August 31st, 2017 as Thomas Ullmann Day in the state of Connecticut.
You've led by example, Tom, and we followed your lead. You've set the high water mark, and we will strive to hit that. We have one last thing before we turn the mic over to you, which is I keep hearing about these memoirs. So we have a gift card to contribute towards your laptop because we'd like to see that happen.
I'm not usually speechless. Usually have a lot to say. I want to start off by thanking Beth, Scott, Joe, who put this incredible event together tonight. I feel so cherished to have people in my office who we worked together for so long, who care about me, and I care about them so much. And all the other members of my office who are standing up here, who've been in my office, we've really worked as a team all these years. And it's one of those things that you really think about strong and hard when you lead, when you have such a supportive group. How hard it is to tear away from that. But I seem to be doing fine. You know, I love my group, many of the lawyers and even the support staff worked in my office in the evenings, over weekends. Secretaries would come in sometimes on Sunday if I needed some work done. Poor Charlene had to handle it. Those of you who don't know how I prepare a case, I took every name on every piece of paper and created a folder for them. And so the papers had to be duplicated. So if there were 15 names on a police report on page 1, 15 copies were made and they would go into folders for each one. We had some cases where there were 600 to 2,000 documents. You can imagine the kind of work they had to do. So I had an incredible staff working for me that are still there today. New people, but still wonderful, wonderful people. I want to thank the speakers who came up here tonight. I've had relationships with all of them. I've worked in many different venues with them over the years. I've gained a measure of respect for so many different people in the system in terms of trying to work together and trying to improve the system. I think we're one of the more progressive states in the entire country, and we've accomplished some things that I'll refer to in a minute that other states have just not gotten their act together on. I want to welcome so many people who, I'm not going to name all of them, but Justice Harper's remarks, Justice Dennis Everly is here, Mayor DeStefano is here, I've known him for many years, and our kids, and so many people within the judicial system that I've worked with that are here today. Judges of the Superior Court, state's attorneys, and so many defense attorneys that are really the heart and soul of the defense team, both public and private, in the state of Connecticut. I came out of college, pretty idealistic and rebellious, coming out of the civil rights era and anti-war era, and made a decision to try and protect people's rights when the government came against them. I took the road less traveled. Public interest in law schools commands a small percentage of the students that come out of law school. Even a smaller percentage go into criminal defense, and even a smaller percentage are trial lawyers. I started in the DOC, Department of Corrections, back in 1974 with two guys who are here tonight, Bob Gillis, who I now kayak with in the Adirondacks, who became a warden in the Department of Corrections, and Neil Brockwell, who has been a public interest legal services lawyer for his entire career. But we worked in a work and educational release program, and then I went to a bail reform project where I worked with Margaret Levy and the late Sue Wise. It's kind of ironic that 44 years later, we're talking the same thing today that we were trying to do back then. I then became an investigator while I was in law school. I worked with some incredible lawyers, names that some of you will remember: Herbie Bundock, Gene Spear, George Finn, Clem Naples, Bob Galash, Gene Riccio, Frank Mandanisi, Jim Ruane, Doug Nash. And then when I passed the bar, I came to New Haven. I've spent my entire career in New Haven. And when I started out in New Haven in GA6, handling 25 cases a day, I was with Mort Lewis, Joan Leonard, Dave Kaplan, John Watson. And I went to Part A in 1985 to deal with the serious cases, where Don Dakers was the supervisor. And Don Dakers, as Pat Clifford said, was a wonderful lawyer. I always remember the story of Judge Haddon telling me that Don Dakers was doing a final argument, and Judge Haddon was reading some papers or a book at the bench, and all of a sudden, during Don's final argument, he heard a voice coming, because Don could never remember anyone's name. He was a true Columbo character, so he's fumbling around for a name, and Haddon says, all of a sudden I hear a voice coming from a place I know it shouldn't be coming. And it's a juror giving Don. And Judge Haddon proceeds to describe, I knew it was a not guilty verdict right then. That was Don. That was Don. He left some prosecutors shaking their heads as to how the juries came back with not guilty verdicts. He was a wonderful, wonderful human being and could quote the classics. I worked in that office with Sue Hankins, Bob Sweeney, Ken Rosenthal, and Brian Carlo, Lauren Whitestone, Mike Isco, Tejas Abad. I probably have handled 12,000 cases over my career in GA and the Judicial District, and probably 60 to 70 jury verdicts. I've worked with judges, prosecutors, court reporters, clerks, and marshals, and have had wonderful relationships with all of them. We may have had our moments, but I've had, I know there's a lot of judges. Judge O'Carroll talks about my voir dire. I told him I was going to repeat it here tonight. But I never got off the track on my voir dire. I was going to do my voir dire as Connecticut Constitution provides, and I always felt like I picked good jurors. They may not have agreed with me, but I picked good jurors. We have a wonderful public defender system. I've been around the country because I'm a member of the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, and I've gone to many seminars and meetings across the country. We have the best, oldest, best organized public defender system in the country. A statewide system that's funded, that trains its lawyers, that supports its lawyers, tries to keep them on as careers. You look around the country, there are county public defender systems, there are judges who appoint lawyers here and there. There are awful systems around the country. We have one of the best, and it's been a matter of pride to work for that system. here. I've been fortunate to teach at Quinnipiac for almost 20 years at the law school, in trial practice and advanced trial practice. So many students, some of whom are prosecutors, many of whom are public defenders. There's one student here who was on a track to be a prosecutor, to marry a state police person in Pennsylvania. She came from a law enforcement family. By the time we got through with her, she got rid of that guy. She became a public defender for her entire career. So I've had wonderful, wonderful experience with young students. I always feel like I can learn from students just as much as they can learn from me, because they have different perspectives and looking at things. I've been blessed to really teach the last 10 to 11 years at the Yale University for the Criminal Defense Clinic, currently teaching this with Fiona Dowry, who's a wonderful professor. And the students there have done some work in my office, and it's been a wonderful experience to see Yale students who could be on the top track, making incredible amounts of money, be committed to doing public interest and public defense work. Just a wonderful thing to see. I've been fortunate to be on the law trip board and write editorials and meet some powerful lawyers that I would never have met and run into from some of the biggest firms around the country, around the state, who sit on the law trip as well. And we have some pretty interesting and spirited discussions about these editorials. I love my experience on the CCDLA, the Criminal Defense Lawyers Association. I was involved with it for 10 years and president for a year. And it was during that period of time that we really took control and advocated against the death penalty. Many of us thought that when Cheshire occurred that we would set that back for an extraordinary number of years, and that turned out not to be the case. And kudos to Connecticut for finally abolishing the death penalty. And my experience on the Sentencing Commission has been great. I was chair of the work group that actually proposed a Sentencing Commission, and it passed the legislature and came into effect in 2011. And it's seen as an apolitical body in which sound criminal justice policy, rather than the emotions of what takes place in the legislature, can be proposed by our group after much discussion, sitting around the table, and different sides conceding and compromising, and we've had a number of different successes. So we had the juvie bill that passed 1584. After 2 years of work on the work groups, had finally hammered out a piece of legislation that took 3 years to get through the legislature. But it's been really an honor for me to work on the Sentencing Commission, having been so involved in terms of its formation. So I thought, just very briefly, as a lawyer, even though we deal with so many serious things, there are some humorous moments that come up in the courtroom, and I've had a lot of those experiences, so I just want to share a couple of them with you. Bob O'Brien was here tonight. The first trial I ever had was with Bob O'Brien in the early 80s. He was the head of career criminal for years. He's retired now. So it was a robbery case. And I would come down to the office, and I would say to the other members of my office, is there something unconstitutional about being too fair as a prosecutor? Because this guy was the fairest guy, and I was thinking, because it was my first trial, like, something's wrong here. Like, I should be screaming about something, but this guy was so fair. And that's how it was with Bob O'Brien. He was just a great guy. Jane Emmons and I, Judge Emmons, I don't know if she's still here, but we tried a case with Judge Trunauskis. People remember Judge Trunauskis. He once gave, on a robbery case, a 3-hour instruction. 3 hours. Jane was peeing in her pants because at some point he repeated the definition of robbery a 4th time, and one of the jurors is sitting in the chair saying, "We know Judge Damiani, one of my favorites. Judge Damiani made a complaint about me to Joe Shortle because I wasn't ready on a case. You know, at the time we had 75 to 100 cases. And I decided I'm going to get ready on my oldest ones. I don't really care about I care about the others, but I just can't get ready on everything. And he of course, as a managing judge, would pick out something from the middle and try to get me to, you know, get my client to plead. So I said, Judge, I'm not ready on this case. I never opened the file. I said, what do you mean you haven't opened the file? I said, Judge, I have 90 cases. There's just so much I can do. And the client's standing there. She's completely supportive of me. So he says, well, I'm going to make a complaint to the chief public defender, Joe Shortle. And I said, I really wish you would, because maybe we'll get some more staff. and you know, I think he'd be supportive of that. So he calls Joe, and Joe says to him, listen, Ullmann's one of my best. If he says he's not ready, he's not ready. So about a month later, I became the head of the office. First thing I did was go in and see Judge Damiani, and I said, listen, when I need another raise, I need you to make a complaint. The other thing funny that happened with Judge Damiani was when the United States bombed Iraq as a preemptive strike, I got a murder case in, and it was the first day in court, and I saw it as a self-defense case. And so I decided, like, you know, what your government does filters down to the community, right? So I said, what my client did was a preemptive strike. And all of a sudden, what you hear in the back of the room from the victim saying, and Damiani's looking at me like, why was this necessary? We had to have our 40 to 60-year-old Marshall plan quell this crap. One of the really great moments that I had was with my arch enemy, Jim Clark. We had a situation at the Penny Sarah trial where I had an old Italian detective on the stand who was maintaining that there were photographs at the police department. Now, we all knew that the photographs had been destroyed. This case was a 30-year-old cold case, and everybody knew we had litigation about the fact that the photos had been destroyed. So he's being impossible on the stand, insisting that the photographs still existed. So I was so exasperated from the jury that I finally turned to Clark and I said, could you please produce those photographs? Knowing that, you know, Clark's already coming out of the seat. Judge Blue is, I want to see counsel behind the sidebar. Judge Blue's sidebar was a screen, like a screen. But Judge Blue talked so loud that everybody. So my supportive lawyers, Beth Merkin, Brian Carlo, and the late Jane Carroll, they basically said, you're on your own on this one. They never got out. And one of the great moments that I've ever witnessed happens because Blue was steaming. I'm ready to do my mea culpas. And Clark, who can't keep quiet, Teddy says, Judge, I want to eat. Judge Blue whacks him. I was thinking, like, you know that game that you played as a kid, hitting this and it really smacks? So he smacks his hand as hard as can be. And I can't laugh because I'm in trouble. So Judge Blue starts yelling at me. I'm really sorry. I will not happen again. That's outrageous that you did that. Judge, I know. It's not gonna happen again. He got frustrated about it. He says, okay, better not happen again. I'll hold you in contempt. Of course, I've been there before. So I finish, and at the end of the day, which is about 10 minutes later, everybody's excused. The jury's gone, and Jim Clark said, Judge, can I have a moment with you in the sidebar? And now they all walk up, right? And we all walk up. And they have no idea what had happened. And Jim Clark says to the judge, Judge, could you just explain to me why you hit me when he's the one who did something? It was one of those moments that one final story, when I was held in contempt by Judge Haddon, the Law Trib reporter came down and a photographer came down for photographer, and she said, you know, can you take a good picture? And I had been given a $100 fine for this contempt for refusing to testify against a former client. So I said, well, let's go down to the locker room and take a picture with me behind bars. So she loved that idea, right? So next week, front page of the Law Trib is me behind bars. So Judge Haddon gets the newspaper and comes to see me the next day. And his exact words, I should have put your ass in jail because everyone thinks I did anyway. I said, that was the point. I've had an incredible run and an incredible road that I've traveled. I've loved every minute of it. I've loved the trials. I've loved the negotiations. I've loved the work in chambers. I've loved working with the various different prosecutors and the judges. It was so different over the years. Like I said, I started out as kind of a rebellious activist, civil rights lawyer. I've matured, but maintained zealous advocacy. I now compromise to get things done. Sit at the table with adversaries so we can make some progress. We have people in positions of power in this state that we are lucky we have it right now. It's one of the reasons that we've made so much progress in our state in criminal justice. Commissioner Semple is a wonderful commissioner. He takes care of his department, but he also has a much wider vision in terms of reentry, and he's stepped far away from the notion of all we're here to do is protect them while they're in our custody. We don't really care what happens to them afterwards. He's the furthest thing from that. To have him as the current commissioner, we are fortunate in this state at this point. Kevin King is someone who I've gained an incredible measure of respect for sitting on the committee. He fights for his people, but he's willing to listen, and he's willing to respond, and he's willing to reform the system. We've known chief state's attorneys in the past who they're into, being on TV and being PR. So we are just in a lucky place. We have people who are willing to sit down and talk and try and get the best policies of what's going on. And you never know when that can change from day to day. So I appreciate that we have been in that position for a period of time. Doesn't mean that we don't have work to do, but it means that we have the right people in the right positions of power now to try and get some of those things accomplished. So finally, what I want to say is my advice and my suggestions for young lawyers. Clients come first. Your allegiance to the client is primary. Outside of your family, those clients are above anything else. You should care about the clients, no matter what they're accused of. Their freedom is in your hands. What could be more important? We all make mistakes. Sometimes it's just a simple twist of fate. You need to draw a line in the sand sometimes. Not all people who do bad things are bad people. Stand up and fight where necessary. Don't let people abuse their power. It's worth saving lives, not leaving lives ruined. Always be reasonable. You can be defiantly reasonable, but be reasonable. Don't be afraid to create a record.
Yeah.
I'm not ready in the case. I'd be malpracticing if I went forward on this trial. There is no shame in doing that if you're not ready. You ought to be ready for trial because so much is at stake. Your job is to protect the client, period, end of story. Use every resource available. If you don't ask, you will not get. If you try, the old Rolling Stone saying, right? If you try sometime, you just might find you get what you need. Be civil, courteous, but firm. Listen to people. Return phone calls, such a simple thing. Talk to family members. Visit the clients in prison. So many people wait for clients to be brought to court as opposed to visiting them in corrections and letting them know you care about them enough to go visit them. Get involved. Don't complain about an unjust system and not get involved. It's not a 9-to-5 job. It's not just about individual representation. It's about committee work and policy work and overall policies in the state. Over my career, some incredible things have occurred that I never thought would see happen in my lifetime. The death penalty was abolished. Eyewitness identification legislation has been passed. Taped interrogation legislation has been passed. Raise the age has been passed in this state. 1584 hearings for juveniles who were sentenced as adults, some of them who had never had parole, who have demonstrated in some cases maturing to such a degree that you wouldn't even recognize the same person 25 years later. We're currently working on sex registry reform. So it's, in my opinion, it's been an extraordinary history and time in the state of Connecticut, and I've been proud to be a part of that. I have tried to be and give the best that money can't buy. Thank you so much.